Hi everyone, I am Patricia, the first virtual employee of Payment Asia. We are an Asia-based FinTech company. I am now working in the customer service department in Payment Asia. Today, we are going to talk about how to do e-commerce in Southeast Asia, the region with the fastest growth in the world at the moment. What do merchants need to watch out for when doing cross-border transactions? I have my colleague Ziahn here with me, who is a Southeast Asia business expert. Hello, Ziahn.
Hello, Patricia. Nice to meet you.
How are you today?
I'm fine, thank you. And yourself?
I feel refreshed. So glad I can have the chance to discuss the e-commerce and cross-border payment environment in Southeast Asia with you today. I know it is quite a competitive region at the moment, as COVID already brings everyone online. But before that, why don't you tell the audience a bit more about your past experience in the region?
Hi, I'm Ziahn. I'm the channel manager here at Payment Asia Hong Kong. I've been in this financial services industry for over 20 years now, the first 10 years in private banking. I've been working across Europe as well as Asia, across many locations from Switzerland to France to Malaysia, and now I'm in Hong Kong where we are based.
Yes.
Now Payment Asia is a gateway company, and I'm looking at channel management here, and we're looking to help our clients with the latest of the Southeast Asian solutions. I'm from Southeast Asia myself, and it's a hot, exciting region that we're really seeing a lot of traction from the merchants and a lot of demand, a lot of inquiries. So we are able to bring a lot of new channels here, and this is mainly my main focus. I've been looking at channels in Thailand, Indonesia, Malaysia, Philippines, India, and beyond. I mean, it's happening in a lot of there's a lot of action in e-wallets as well as online bank transfers and a lot of alternative payments. So basically, this is what I've been working with the team here to enable for our clients in our merchant community to help them make payments a lot easier across this region.
That indeed is a lot of experience in the industry. I'm sure you also noticed the changing atmosphere in Southeast Asia. This region is expected to have a 5.2% year-on-year GDP growth by 2023, according to the Asian Development Bank, which indicates a lot of trading potential. I am also studying the consumption trend in this region. Can you tell us a bit more about what you have seen in the past years?
Well, in terms of trends, there's mainly three main areas that the clients have to watch out about. There's a fragmented region, as well as it's very complex, and there's also the need for localized payment services. So firstly, let's talk about what do I mean by fragmented. Unlike America, where you have JP Morgan Bank in New York and JP Morgan Bank in California, you have one main banking partner across such a big continent. Similarly, for Europe, you will have a payment system such as SEPA, which integrates and unifies the whole region. Now, Southeast Asia is not that simple. It is very fragmented, and every country has its own bank system, as well as wallets, as well as online players, and as well as currency. Also, we have to navigate across that. There's the different languages that the websites run on, and the payment systems, are based off such languages. So
right.
There are so many different solutions that we have to work with, as well as banks. So this makes the region fragmented in terms of the landscape of the solutions. Now, there's also a problem with complexity. In terms of it's like we said before, it's very complex because we have countries where people don't like to use credit cards, unlike the major economies of the world, where if you just add a credit card checkout system on your website, you will be successful. This is so for America or Europe, where everybody has a debit or credit card. Now, When we're dealing with Southeast Asia, we have to consider that credit cards they tend not to be as popular as all these alternative payments. That's one area where we have to take extra care about. Now, another problem would be getting the money out of the country. One might not know that in some countries there are currency controls on limitations. You can't just wire 50,000 US dollars out of a certain Southeast Asian currencies without filling in extra forms. There's also a need for having a local bank account that is able to receive these local currencies in such localities, because it's not guaranteed that a foreign bank account can receive in these local currencies. Next, there's also the issue of paying bills locally. This is something that we might have a problem with if the merchant is having onshore operations and has staff to pay in this local regions that they've just come into. So this adds to the complexity of expanding in these regions. Now, the third point is we might need to consider that we have to have a local partner that's very up to date with what's happening in this locality. Ideally, they have to be from the region because there's some very subtle nuances that they need to know from the legal environment right up to the language and to the culture. So we believe that here at Payment Asia, we're able to help our merchants with this type of expansion, especially in this region which we've been active in for quite a long time.
Indeed, these are the major concerns I received from our clients. Doing e-business in Southeast Asia have so many complexities. And although I'm a virtual employee and can't get COVID, I also see people face new challenges after the pandemic. How do you see these challenges after the pandemic?
There's quite a few new challenges because of the changing market, as well as the changes that COVID naturally brought. There were a lot of problems at first that we might see at face value. However, here at Payment Asia, we see it as an opportunity. There are many new opportunities that have arisen with all these changes, and if the merchant takes this opportunity to address such changes, they will thrive in this post-COVID environment. For example, there's definitely at the high level a lot more online sales going on, and this is a trend that's going to continue. The numbers that we're looking at is something like $1 trillion US by 2030 of sales happening in Southeast Asia. That is at the gross value. Now, the scope is also getting wider. The demographics are changing. Now, for example, in Southeast Asia, when COVID hit about 2 years ago, there were a lot of people in isolation. They were stuck in their houses. One might have read a lot about this happening in Shanghai. Well, it happened as well in Southeast Asia, in many places. As a result, we find that older people, the elder generation that used to go to coffee shops to have coffee with their friends, play mahjong, they were stuck in their house. And as a result, they started to use the apps that are big names down there, which are like similar to Uber Eats. We have Grab. So they were buying food for their home and some buying cakes on Instagram.
So not only there are more transactions, but also user scope is getting wider. These bring more challenges to the e-business because merchants need to take care of a much bigger audience.
Yes, that is definitely correct. There's the segments that are using mobile phones as well as computers to buy are getting wider and wider these days. It's at all levels, and this is why the merchant has to embrace online payments solutions as well as online commerce. In terms of other trends, it's something that we have to look per market. For example, there's a lot of new implications on our omni-channel strategy. There's a lot of new e-wallets that are gaining market share from the emergence of Apple Pay, for example, or Samsung Pay. In these markets, we have local players like in Indonesia called OVO, Dana, Shopee Pay. These are new checkout methodologies that need to be embraced at all costs should we want to succeed in the given market.
I see.
So, apart from that, there's also an online and offline aspect to it that we have to pay attention to. In Asia, unlike in other parts of the world, there is a lot that is bought with a QR code. The users in this region love to swipe the QR. And this is also a little detail that our merchants need to consider in working with partners that are able to handle these type of processing flows.
Asian customers really like to scan QR code and pay. Such trends started in China, but now it is everywhere in Southeast Asia.
Indeed, it's the QR code is for an offline payment market, as well as online to offline. This is evidently so in Thailand with Prompt Pay, as well as QR Pay, which exists in Indonesia. They have it called KRIS, and in Malaysia and across every Southeast Asian country today, they have QR codes which are predominant in the payment landscape.
Any interesting market or example that you can share with us?
Thailand is it's an interesting example. There's approximately 57 million internet users in this country, and they're well versed in the use of digital technologies from mobile to e-commerce. In Thailand, the total transaction value is expected to grow at around 11% every year. And we're looking at a target of $25 billion of sales online by the year 2025. This is what the estimates are indicating to us. So this is definitely a market that is very interesting for many online players to look at to increase their sales.
You've been working in the cross-border payment industry long enough. I'm sure you also know what is the pain point for the e-commerce. Can you share a few of your thoughts so our audience knows how to avoid those detours?
So, this is definitely something that we hear a lot about with the challenges and the complaints that the pain points our merchants will have when they want to gain entry into the Southeast Asian market. So, the first, obviously most challenging part is the fees. A typical European merchant that has a credit card processing account based in Europe with a European acquirer and targeting a Filipino buyer, for example, they will be charged a higher fee. We're talking circa 3% as opposed to the normal 1.7 or 1.9 for their local transactions. So the international transactions will already inherently be more expensive. And that is on the processing fee side. And there will be also a foreign exchange transaction attached to the buyer if they decide to pay on the credit cards in Filipino peso. So there is, on top of that, a Filipino conversion for the peso against the dollar. So we're looking at higher costs, firstly, that would be a pain point for our merchants.
What are the other things that merchants need to pay attention to when doing cross-border e-commerce?
Cross-border TTs will cost you circa $25 to $45 per transaction. So if you're asking somebody in Thailand to send you a wire across to your bank account, it's going to cost them a little bit extra here with that unnecessary $25 to $45 US, which is not nothing. Let's put it that way. It could be a barrier to closing a sale, especially if your ticket size is something less than $100. It might make sense if you're selling something expensive, but it's not feasible to absorb such a high cross-border fee.
And there is also a time duration when a customer pays and when the merchant actually gets the money, right?
Certainly there are complaints with regards our settlement cycles that are available out there. When a merchant based in Europe would, again, looking at that example with credit cards, we're looking at cases with rolling reserve sometimes, that could go up to 5%, as well as a T plus 10 or T plus 14 settlement, which is not uncommon. What does this mean? This ties up a merchant's cash flow. The rolling reserve is protection that the acquiring bank will keep as reserve, that in case you get chargebacks. This is part of inherent with Visa MasterCard processing. So you'll be looking at having your cash tied up unnecessarily because of slow settlement cycles, which hold their money for 14 days before they can withdraw it, as well as that 5% of the total sales value that you would have that would be held as a deposit. Now this is kind of an advantage, a disadvantage, sorry, that we would be having to deal with when we're selling to international markets.
So if the merchant has a local account to receive the money, that will be much faster.
Certainly, that's why we should look at the local options, which in comparison would have faster settlement periods, therefore tying up less of your capital. This could be from T plus 1, which is you get your money the next day, or you would be able to withdraw your money within 5 days. That would be the norm. I can't give a generic answer because there's so many different providers. However, they tend to be much swifter in terms of settlement cycles.
Is it safe?
It would definitely be safer because we would be looking at less credit risk in theory, because we have smaller settlement cycles and holds. So this is definitely a safer option for a merchant to consider than an international merchant account.
I see. I think that is why in Payment Asia we automated the whole process so that we can provide safe and swift services. The automation process in Payment Asia allows merchants to start their online business right away. And more importantly, handling their company treasury, remit funds to their vendors and suppliers, do billing payments and refunds, and claim staff expenses through the corporate credit card. And the best thing is, it comes with a reliable overseas bank account. This is what we can offer. We want to bring more than payment services to merchants and help them grow a global e-business with fewer pain points in processing and corporate treasury.
It's not uncommon to see our clients being very satisfied with their sales increasing twofold or more when they've used the right APMs and localized payment solutions in Southeast Asia, as well as having settlement cycles coming as close to instant or next day settlement, so greatly reducing the settlement cycles that are the norm in credit cards with international merchant accounts.
Twofold is really an inspiring number for sales increase. I really learn a lot from your sharings today. It will help my future work as I'm going to share those tips with our clients too. I hope we can help more merchants to grab such business opportunities in Southeast Asia. And thank you, Ziahn, for the insight. We will discuss more next time.
Thank you, Patricia, and bye-bye.